Good day, or should I say good evening? It's about 8 o'clock, getting towards the end of the day. But I figured I'd start this next little project. It's actually for my sister. She needs a rolling gate put on the side of her home to help hold her little doggy Sally in the backyard. So we end up finding this little hardware kit, and it's called Plylex, and it provides you all the hardware you need for a rolling gate. So we'll give it a try and see how it works. I've opened it up already. It's actually pretty decent quality. Powder coat paint, good steel construction on it. That's sort of the picture of the gate as it slides back and forth. We can't put a swing gate because there are air conditioners in the way, so we have to use a rolling gate to sort of create the opening to get into the backyard. But yeah, it's a pretty nice little kit. I was impressed with the wheels. The instructions are not bad. They're in English and French. That sort of shows you a good picture of the gate. They're fairly detailed, good enough to build it. Parts list, what it's supposed to look like before you start. They give you dimensions that you need to hold. And the kit's pretty decent. It's got pretty much everything that you see on this parts list here. And all the screws that you need to put a gate assembly together. So I'm going to run over there, get some dimensions for it. I drew a little plan view of it. That gives me a spot that I can get dimensions. I already got the width of the gate. The left side here, this is the house. They've got an existing trellis that's right in the middle here that we're going to attach to. They got a chain link fence along this side of the property here that it goes. It's not very wide. It's about 14 foot wide. I think I'm going to make the gate 8 feet wide and a couple stationary panels, and hopefully it works out. So we'll run over there, get some more dimensions. I have all the widths. I just needed to shoot the concrete, the existing concrete. I don't know how level it is. The house is pretty plumb. The trellises, I'm gonna have to mess with those and put some bracing on it to get it plumbed up, but I wanted to see how level the concrete is. I don't think it's very level, but we'll find out. So we made it over here to the sister's house. This is the opening. Sorry for the traffic. She's got a busy road next to her house. And of course the air conditioner is running. But that's the opening. It's about 14 foot wide. Of course, gate's going to go where the walk path is. And I've got to shoot some elevations here off the concrete. See how level it is. I already got my widths. I know how high I'm going to do, 42 inches tall. And so I'll set up here and we'll get some elevations of the concrete. So I set up my little laser. It's a laser I've had for years. It's a PLS 180, I believe it is. It shoots horizontally, it shoots vertically, and it shoots both at the same time. And it's a real handy little laser. Doesn't work real good in the daylight. The beam just isn't strong enough and you can't see it. But it's about 8 o'clock in the evening, so it's sun's almost down and it's a little darker. So it'll throw out a horizontal beam all the way around 180 degrees. So in fact, you can see it over here even, and it's 180 degrees from that laser there. So I've got a mark there on that post. I'll be able to measure up to there. I'll be able to measure there. Be able to measure there, and we'll see against the fence how far out we're down there. I'd like to set it at 42 inches. That's close to 42 and a quarter. 42 and a half. 42 and a half. I'm surprised it's that close. There's about 41 7/8. And over here by the gate, or by the fence rather, get out of the beam. About 41 inches. So I'll write those numbers down, and I think I have all the numbers that I need to build it. Well, it's the next morning. I had a quick trip to Home Depot. Bought everything that I needed for the gate and the two side panels. So we'll start putting this together. I was reading some of the reviews. We bought this little hardware kit on Amazon, and I was reading the 1-star reviews and the comments that they made. There were several of them that were returning it because it didn't come with the wood. Yeah, that's right. Didn't come with the wood. They paid $69 and they thought they were getting, I guess, 3 panels of wood and all the balusters and all the hardware and all the top caps. They said the pictures were very misleading. Wow. Yeah, that's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty funny, actually. Some of the other comments were that the metal itself started rusting after time in the screw heads. So time will tell on this one. They are steel brackets. They're not aluminum. It does say, made of powder coated steel. So, it should hold up. We'll see, but time will tell. And one of the other comments that they had is the brackets, the corner brackets, didn't fit the wood. So we'll check one here. Those are meant to fit the corners of your gate. And I've got this pond dried outdoor wood. I mean, you can still see how wet it is on the board. So these are real wet. They're very green. They're probably going to be as fat and swollen as they're ever going to be. But I don't know if you can see that or not, but it slides in pretty good. A little tap here it'll go on. Doing it one-handed, but yeah, these are fitting pond dried wood, so I'm not too sure about that comment. But overall, I think the material is pretty nice quality. Wasn't missing any parts. Went through it all. It's got a real good finish on it, high gloss black powder coat. So I'm hoping it's a good hardware kit. And the instructions, yeah, they're a little vague, but you got to read between the lines sometimes. But overall, I think it's a pretty good hardware kit. We'll know more after I put it all together. So I just finished up assembling the gate. Cut the top and bottom and the two sides. And I assembled the hardware, or most of it. There's a little bit of hardware left. But I was impressed. Went together very well. It's a little short on screws, but that's not a big deal. But it's pretty solid, and it rolls real nice. I went ahead and did my layout. We're going to go with 1/2-inch aluminum tubing, and those are my center holes. They're about 4 inches, 3 7/8 or so. And what I might try, instead of drilling a 1/2-inch hole for the 1/2-inch pipe, a number 10 screw has a 3/8 head on it, and that would be the inside diameter of that 1/2-inch aluminum tubing. So I'm going to try slipping the tube onto screws instead of drilling a bunch of 1/2-inch holes, which are going to hold water, and I didn't really think that'd be good for the wood. I know I got a bunch of holes here for the screws, but that's a lot smaller hole, and it'll be filled up with the screw. And then the top of the board, I'll go ahead and, I've got that laid out already, and I'll go ahead and drill those with the 1/2-inch hole. Make it deep enough that I can slip the tubing up into the hole, and then lift it up over the screw and set it back down on the screw, and it should be all it's really going to need. It's more or less just for looks. But yeah, it rolls real nice. And this gate's probably a lot bigger than what they probably recommend. This thing's 8 feet long, 42 inches tall. The aluminum isn't going to add that much more weight. Most of the weight is in this pond dried wood that I'm using, but it'll dry out and get a lot lighter. But I think it'll work well. Now I'll go take this over to her house, I'll build the other panels and sort of do a little mock-up of how it's all going to work. We won't get the aluminum for probably a couple weeks, so this is just sort of on hold until we get all the other parts. What I did do, I probably should have shown that before. I mitered the corners. The instructions say you can just square cut them and butt them into each other, but I figured a miter might look better. And then I have a Kreg pocket kit. This thing here has got it's got this little jig that you use for, you're able to clamp it on just about any wood, and you're able to do a nice pocket hole. And I was able to pull the four corners together using the pocket screws, and they pull together really tight, so it made putting these corner brackets on real nice. So yeah, I'd say that hardware kit is well worth the money. I think it'll be a good long-lasting kit. We'll see what it looks like when we get it all together at the sister's house. So here we are, about 4 hours later. It actually went together pretty decent. The slab, even though it was at a level, it didn't really show up on the framing at all. I got the one corner post here I had to set in concrete. So I'll pull that brace off tomorrow and put the cap on. And the gate slides really nice. I'm going to add another 4x4 post up against the house, so the gate it'll lock up against another 4x4. But it actually rolls really nice. Nice and plumb against the house. The brackets work out really nice. They put good tension on the gate. They just screwed to that one horizontal board. This is not the way the instructions showed you how to do it, but I had a little different application because of the existing trellis here. And the trellis was giving me a bit of a problem. It was about 2.5 inches out of plumb, leaning the wrong way, obviously. So I had to sort of strap it back to that cherry tree with a big old strap and some ropes, and ratcheted it back plumb. And then when I had it plumb, I was able to cut some 1x6 cedar boards, and then I just basically braced them both sides. And it held. When I let go of the strap, it stayed plumb. So now we wait about, I don't know, 2 weeks for the aluminum tubing to show up. And I think that'll be pretty easy to install. I'll give the screws, like I was saying earlier, I'll try these number 10 screws. I'll put the bottom of the tube in that. And on the underside of this board, I'll drill a 1/2 inch or 9/16 hole, maybe halfway up into that board. So I'll slip the tube up into the top board, swing it over the top of the screw, and set it down onto the screw. And that should keep it somewhat stable, but it's really strong actually. It works really well. So thanks for hanging out, and I'll give you a little update when we get the tubing on it, but I'll see you on the next one. Well, it's about 2 months later. Finally getting back on my sister's gate. Last thing we had to do is build and install her balusters, and we decided to go with 1/2 inch aluminum tubing, about 3.5 inches on center. And gosh, it took about a month to get this material. I needed to get 6 24-footers, and I'll be able to get plenty of them out of this. I need about 40 of them. So now I get to cut these to the length, around 31.5. Prep them, get them sanded, get them roughed up, primered, painted, dried, and get them installed over there and get that little project finished. So let's get started again. So I got about 40 of them cut, which is more than enough. Now I got to set up a little jig for sanding them down. They're a mill finish aluminum, and mill is, well, aluminum in general is tough to paint, to get the primer to stick, get the paint to stick. Mill is better than anodized, but you still got to rough up the surface, get it really clean, and put the primer to it and put the paint to it, and hopefully it sticks. So I'll set up a little jig here with my drill motor in order to sand them and see if we can make this fairly painless. So my thought is I'm going to take the the cut rod, I'll chuck it up in my 1/2-inch cordless, and then this end here I'll have a 1/2-inch 5/8 hole that'll hold the other end of the rod. I'll clamp it down to my bench here, and I'll take some sandpaper and I'll just hold it around it and see if that works. Set it up and do a little test piece and see if I'm wasting my time or if it'll actually work. Well, if this isn't one of the most redneck things I've ever done, my 1/2-inch drill motor, got the 1/2-inch aluminum tubing, got a little pilot hole through a chunk of wood here, and we'll spin it on and run the sandpaper down it, see how it works. A little noisy there, but it worked pretty good. I'd say that's a win. Only 39 more of them. So I've finished all the sanding or etching of the aluminum. I don't know if you can tell that or not. It's got a good etch on it. It's not showing up real good on the camera. But I'll go ahead and wipe these down with, I'll clean it up with some paint thinner and then re-wipe them with some IPA. Get them ready for primer and some paint. So I just finished wiping each one of these down with paint thinner, and then wiping down again with isopropyl alcohol or IPA. And now I've dry wiped each of them. And if you can get a paper towel that ends up clean, that's pretty clean. If you're wiping down mill finish aluminum and that paper towel is coming out clean, your metal is very clean. So hopefully it'll be ready to accept the primer and the paint, and it'll turn out pretty decent. So I decided to start with the Ace Premium Primer. Normally you'd use like a metal etching primer to prep the metal for the paint. Never really found great reviews on any of them. But I did get good reviews that I found on this Ace Standard Premium Primer. So it's like $5 a can. So I'll give it a try, see how she does. So I've got the primer on the most of them, actually all of them, and I got the finish on some of them. So it's round rods are always tough to paint, get all the sides to be painted equally. So I did the primering on, basically stuffed all 40 of the rods into the board here and just sort of oversprayed everything all at once. It did okay for the primer, but it doesn't really work well for the finish. So I'll just do one row and then I'll spin them, like you can see where that's nice. And then on the bottom, you know, you gotta spray it again to get all the sides done. And the finish is a little stickier than the primer. Primer, gosh, you can touch that within a minute and mess with it. But the finish is a little stickier. Gonna have to let that dry out a little more. So we'll keep painting away. Ending up running some screws into a board and just doing one single line. They seem to cover better than having them all stacked on one board. But yeah, should look good when they're all dried out and installed on the gate. Here's the gate. I don't know if I ever filmed the fabric I put on, but this is just a landscape fabric that I stapled to it, acting as a temporary barrier for the little dog. And I'm amazed after 2 months it's still in place, because it's paper thin material. I'm not sure why it stayed together, but it did. But it's going to come off today, and I'll start drilling some holes. I'll do a little test install, make sure what I've got planned is going to work, and we'll go from there. So the first one went pretty decent. Started off by running just a galvanized, or not a galvanized, but a coated deck screw in the bottom, and then I drill a 1/2 inch hole at the top, slide the rod up into the hole, drop it down over the screw head, and it's pretty stable, or as stable as 1/2 inch tubing is going to be. And it's parallel to the frame, so it looks plumb. So now we drill a bunch of holes. So far so good. I'm adding a little bit of caulking on the inside of the bottom of the tubes, and then up at the top I put just a daub of silicone up into the top. So once the caulking sets up, it should keep them in place. I think it looks pretty good so far. We'll see what it looks like when it's all done. Well, the Sally gate is complete, and she's so happy.
Look at that.
Come here, Sally. Come here. You're the reason I built this thing. Can't get your head through there, can you? No? It turned out really nice. I like the look of it. My sister, more importantly, likes the look of it. And it went together really well, actually. And the hardware, again, I was very impressed with it. from Amazon. We'll do a link in the description down below, but it works really well. I don't know if this is how they would recommend it being built. It's got a little locking, self-locking latch here. Works well.
The wheels are so smooth.
Yeah, they are. They're really a very smooth gate. I'm sure a lot wider than what they would recommend, but it works. So we finished another one. We'll see you on the next project. Thanks for watching.